Hi, this is Bryan, and today we're very excited because after 2 full years of development, we are very excited to introduce the Alpha 1 speaker upgrade from BimmerTech. Now, although these speakers sound best when paired with the BimmerTech premium audio system, they also work great on a completely stock car with the base sound system, or today I'm going to show you how to replace the Harman system. Alright, grab a trim tool and a T20. We're going to start with the doors. Okay, we're going to start on the passenger front door. Now, all the doors on the F30 are the same, so it's a very similar process. On the door, we're going to be replacing the mid-range door speaker and also the tweeter up top. Okay, the first thing we need to do is get the door panel off. So basically what there are 2 T20 screws that are under this handle right here, under this piece of trim. So what we need to do is we need to pry this up. If you've never removed your door panel before, basically you have this piece of trim right here that we need to remove. Some cars it's wood, some plastic, and as you see here, some are metal. Basically there are 2 T20s. There's one about here and there's one about here that secure the door panel in place. What we need to do is we need to pop this piece of trim off. It's held in by a small clip up top, a large clip in the bottom, and a series of small clips in the middle. As you can see, there is a seam right here where the trim meets the actual door panel. What you want to do is get your trim tool. If you don't have any, BimmerTech makes some really good ones. Then what you can do is take your trim tool, just slowly insert it in here. You can start to work your way up a little bit, and then just very carefully start to pry it, just like that. Okay. Release the bottom clip, and you're good. Now, just to make sure you have a good sense of what's going on, I'm going to reinstall it and remove it again. So when installing, you press the top up first, and you flip everything in place just like that. Again, what I like to do is get my trim tool, go in underneath, start to work some of those clips, and you get it to a point. You remove the top, and then the bottom is still stuck. So if you look right here, this is the big clip, and you can see that there's a little metal fastener that keeps it in place. What you can do is just very carefully just wiggle that out. This has a little bit of an angle, so you can just shimmy it up and it'll come right off. Right here you can see the clips. You can see we have the smaller hook up top. These fasteners right here go into these little metal pieces right there, and then you have that bottom hook. Then last, there's these little hooks around the side, and they just clip in here to make sure it stays nice and tight. Next, you're going to need a T20. And there's one right here. Okay, here's one. And there's one right up here. Okay, there's 2. All right, so as we can see right here, there is a little bit of a seam. What we need to do is we need to insert our plastic BimmerTech trim tool in here. Now, when I'm doing this, I like to use the plastic BimmerTech trim tool that looks like this. I like to get this side in, and then what you can do is twist a little bit, get your hand in there, and then you can pop the door panel off. And basically what it has a series of these little clips that hold it in place, and we'll show you that in just a minute. Now, when you're doing this, we recommend doing it at the lower corner over here. And the reason for that is if anything was to ever slip or anything was to ever go wrong, and maybe you'll put a little nick, you don't see it every time you open the door. And if you're using a plastic BimmerTech trim tool, you should never have that problem anyway. All right, so take your BimmerTech trim tool. What I like to do is apply some outward pressure right here. Sometimes it just gives you enough to get your trim tool in. There we go, I was able to pop it up. And you can go along the bottom. Once I get it popped up, what I like to do is get my hand in here and just slowly start to pop it up. Then what you can do is just get your hand in here and you can just slowly start to pop up the rest of the clips. What I like to do is I like to pop all the bottom ones and then leave the top ones in. All right, so right now we have everything loose except for the top. Now, on a lot of door panels, you lift up. With BMW, you just lift straight out. So what I like to do is start near the mirror. Just get your hand in here, slowly start to pop. Always be very careful of this right here, your door lock. You don't want to mess that up. So just go along there, and then that'll just fall through. And you can rock your door panel down like this. All right, once you're here, you're just going to see a series of clips. What you want to do is just get everything out of the way. So this just lifts straight up. You just pull that, set it out of the way. For these other clips, you could just disconnect them, just pull them out. Okay, over here there's a little plastic thing that keeps it secure into the door, and we can remove our light. Okay, so we have most of it off. Whenever you're doing this, I always recommend putting a towel or something on the ground, because if you have to put this on the ground for a second, you don't want it to get scratched up, especially if you're on pavement. All right, so we are down to 1 wire that goes in the back, so that is to our window switch. So basically the way that this works is there are 2 prongs in the back, and there's a tab in the front. And what you do is you take a trim tool, you stick it between the leather and the plastic, you pry it up in the front, and you pull it out from the back. So if you'd like to completely remove it, that's perfectly fine. One thing that I've noticed before is if you put your door panel on its side and you have a soft ground, you don't need to remove that. So I'm just going to let this rest against the door. So what we can do now is take your T20, and there are 3 screws that hold your speaker in place. One here, one here, and then there's one more last one. Before I take that one out, I'm just going to disconnect these 2 connections that are into the speaker. All right, and there's number 3. Then you can just take your speaker out. Again, these are the Harmans that I'm replacing with the BimmerTech Alpha 1. All right, so here's a comparison of the Harman factory BMW speaker and also the BimmerTech Alpha 1. So you can see the attention to detail on this speaker. Looks incredible and sounds incredible. Now on my factory speaker, you'll see that there are 2 connections, and on my BimmerTech Alpha 1, there's only one. So what you do is you take this Y adapter that you'll see in your package, and you can see it's clearly marked. So we're going to plug this line here into where it says in, then you have your mid out and your tweeter out. So where it says mid out, you're going to take that connection, plug it right into your speaker, just like that. Then on the speaker, you'll notice that there is a little groove and a little slit. What you do is you take your speaker wire and you just guide it through there, just like that. So it comes out the side here. All right, so once your speaker wire is through like that, you can put your speaker back in. Now we're ready to remove the tweeter. So to do this, all you need to really do is just pull up a little bit and it'll release it, and this will come out from under your weather stripping. All right, so to remove this, what you can do, twist it around, pull it up. So when you look under here, you can see the speaker. It's held in by these little tabs, so sometimes what you can do, you just pull it out. Sometimes it's helpful if you have a small trim tool or even a pick tool to help release some of those clips. Then you can see we have our tweeter. It goes through this foam piece right here and just kind of snakes through. So what you can do is you can pull it out, and there's a piece right here that's wrapped in shrink wrap. Now on the BimmerTech one, it has the exact same thing. So it's very easy to see what goes where. So what you do is, in this gap right here, put that piece of shrink wrap, then you can push in your speaker wire here, just like that. Then take your BimmerTech tweeter, line it up in here, and then just press it, and it'll clip right into place. On this little piece right here of foam, what you want to do is just match up the pattern, so the pointy part, we'll say, goes towards the top. It sits like this. So it's going to sit over your speaker, just like that. All right, so once you have your foam piece securely in place, you can start to pop everything back in. There's a little clip along the side here, so everything will sit nice and flush once you're done. Then take this other wire, and if you remember on that Y splitter, we had one that says TW out. You hook that into the tweeter out. Okay, just like that. All right, now what we need to do is just tie up some of these wires. So you can do this with zip tie, electrical tape. I like to use this paper tape. It doesn't really rattle, just to keep everything nice and neat and out of the way. This tape is more like, actually, it's more like a cloth than anything. It's good for installations and that kind of thing. All right, wrap that over there. Then last, for this piece right here, I just put a piece of 3M mounting tape on here and just stick it underneath here, just to make sure nothing's gonna rattle. All right, everything looks nice and secure. We can put our door panel back on. For the door panel, just connect in your lights here, anything that you disconnected. Now when you're installing the door latch, make sure you press the switch so that this piece of metal is down there. Just push it down like that. Grab your door lock indicator right here. Okay, then once everything is lined up, you just very carefully pop these top clips in, and then just go along and pop everything else in. Now when I'm popping door panels back in, I never want to just push against the door. You always want to pull from the outside to make sure that you're not going to put any stress on the door or the hinge or anything like that. All right, at this point, the door panel is back on. The speaker's set up nice. Everything is looking really good. We're going to take our T20, put these screws back in. Again, for your door trim, there's this piece right here. Slides in just like that. Make sure everything is lined up. and that'll just clip right into place. And now our door's done. All right, next we're going to be taking out the speakers in your dash. There's another mid, and there's also a little tweeter. So you're going to need a plastic trim tool to do this. And it's very simple. All you do is you pry under the plastic very carefully, you pop it up, and then you lift it as straight up as possible. So what you do, slip your trim tool under, and work your way around, and then just pop it up and move it to the side. So here's a look at what it looks like. There's a clip on the front, there's a clip on the back. Then it has these little grabbing points here that are on each of the corners. All right, once you see that, you will see the speaker and also the tweeter, and you'll notice that there are 3 screws holding the speaker in and 2 holding the tweeter in. I've already gone ahead and taken out 4 of them. We just have 1 left to remove. So as you just saw, in the dash you have your mid and also your tweeter. Now these are the BimmerTech replacements that we're going to be installing. What I want you to notice is that there are 3 screw holes in the mid and there are 2 in the tweeter. The speakers are held in by 5 of these T20 screws. Now the best way that I have found is to get a little driver like you may have seen in some of our other videos. This is called a thumb driver, and it's really nice. So what I did is I took out the 4 easy ones and I left the most difficult one in, and I'm going to show you where this piece really comes in handy. What I really like about this thumb driver is if you have a 1/4-inch ratchet, you can clip it on the back and it acts as a little extension, so it gives you a little more leverage. Now the screw that I left in, as I mentioned, it is the most difficult in my opinion, so you are gonna have to use something like this. They do make some ratchets that are even smaller than this, but I think this works just great. All right, so the screw that I left in is right here. So as you can see, there's not much room to get in there, but with one of these thumb drivers, you can get it right in there. You can see that my finger though is right up against the glass, so it is doable, but it's just very tight. Okay, so we just twist it out. There you have it. All right, so now what you want to do, you lift up the mid, and underneath there are 2 connections. So you disconnect those. Okay, set your mid to the side. Then your tweeter will just pull right out, just like that. Now one thing that you'll notice is on the bottom of your mid is where the connection is. And BMW did this a really cool way. They made the wire comes straight out the base of the plastic here underneath. So to do that, you need to connect your tweeter to your mid. So there's a little cut in the plastic so you can feed the wire in without any of the wires being pinched. Now as you'll notice on the BMW speaker, there are 2 connections, one for the tweeter and one for the inbound sound. Now on the BimmerTech speaker, you'll notice that there is only 1 input. So the way that this works is you take this plug right here and you plug it in down here, and then it's going to be marked, one for the tweeter and one for the mid. So let's start by making this connection here. Plug it in. Then what you do, take your mid, where it says mid, plug this in, just like that. Set this over here for a second. Then where it says tweeter out, we'll take our tweeter and we'll plug that in. Now what you can do is take your factory line, stick it through that little groove, and take your BimmerTech line, stick that through the groove, and just get your speaker and just pop it into place, just like that. Okay, so then you take your wire, push it through just like that. Okay, you put the speakers in, just like that. Now at this time, what you want to do is put your screws back in to secure your speakers, and then I'll show you how to secure your wires. So once you've done that, what you want to do is wrap up the wires, and this is going to make it so they don't rattle, and it just makes it nice and neat. Then what you can do is just neatly tuck all of the wires in, and this is going to sit pretty flush. So what you can do is you can very carefully get this piece right here, just press it on just like that, make sure it snaps in, and you're good to go. Okay, last but certainly not least, we are going to show you how to install the subwoofers, which are located under the driver and the passenger seat. Now to remove the seat, you are going to need a T50, so it's a Torx 50. There's 2 bolts in the front on the rails, and then there's 2 bolts in the back. Before you actually remove those bolts, what I like to do is I like to make the seat sit nice and straight up, and then push it forward so you can have full access to those back bolts. All right, so behind the seat, you can see that we can now see these 2 T50 bolts. So take your T50 and remove these. All right, and just for reference, this is what you're looking at. They are a little bit greasy, so just be careful you don't put them down on the carpet or on a seat or anything. Okay, bolt 2. Now do the exact same thing on the 2 front bolts. Once you remove these bolts, as long as you put the angle of your seat up, it should just naturally want to rock back and it'll stay in place, which is really cool. Once you've rocked your seat back, you will see this plastic grate right here, and there's going to be 4 T20 screws. So take those out. All right, once you remove the 4 screws, you can set this out of the way. And here's our sub. Now, one thing I want to specifically note is this connection right here. Do not disconnect it under any circumstance. This is for your airbag. If you disconnect it, you will get an airbag malfunction, so don't do it. All right, back to the speaker. Now, there are 2 different ways that you can get the speaker out. Option 1 is you can just unscrew the speaker, pull it out. Option 2 involves pulling up some of the carpet, and if you can see this black plastic casing right here, you can actually pull up this entire thing. That's a little bit more challenging to get back in just because you have to maneuver the carpet, so you have to use whatever model works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you both, starting with my favorite method. Now, my preferred method to do this is there are just 4 T20 screws. There's one here, 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 and over here. You remove these and then you pull the speaker out. There's a clip under here, which we're going to show you in just a second. Sometimes on these cars, the speakers are actually glued in. So this way might not work for everybody. So I'll show you how to do both. So let's begin by removing the T20s. Then to remove the speaker, what you can do, and you don't have to pull this out as much as I'm going to. I'm just going to do this to show you. All right, with the carpet out of the way, you will see a plug right here. Now, whoever had this car before me broke the clip, which isn't normally a problem. So I'm just going to remove this. Then I'm just going to push down some of the carpet, and we'll just maneuver the speaker out from here. So there it is right there. Now, one of the things that I really love about the new BimmerTech sub is you can tell that they put a lot of time and effort into making it look nice, even though you're never going to see it. This is the factory Harman system that came with the car, and this is the BimmerTech. The other part of the design that I really like is it has a fully integrated and molded plastic plug, so you can just plug the connection right in, just like you did with the factory speakers. Now, some of you are going to be able to do it. It's going to be super easy, and you're going to say, wow, this is awesome. Other of you are going to get to this point and say, wow, my speaker is not coming out, and this is terrible. So this is what you need to do if your speaker gets stuck. So there's 2 10mm bolts over here. Remove these. They just look like that. Once you remove those, and then you just remove this wiring harness, get it out of the way. These are just pressed in here. You just pop them out, slide this over. You don't need to remove your carpet this much. This is more so you can see what I'm doing. Then what you can do, just lift this up and pull it out of the way. Now, if your speaker is being stubborn and it is glued in, what you're going to need is a metal trim tool. Then what you do, you stick it in this crack here, and you just go around and just start to crack the plastic up. Some people like to use heat, and another method that some people like to do is actually put this whole thing in the freezer. What that does is it makes the glue brittle, and you can actually crack it. Sometimes when you soften the glue, it makes it pretty sticky and it just wants to stretch a little bit. But sometimes if you put it in the freezer for a couple hours, it can actually crack the glue and make it easier to remove. So again, it just looks like that. All right, so what I'm going to do, slide this in, put this back here, right where it was. And we can take our BimmerTech speaker, slide it in. There's a little groove right here, and that's for this piece right here where the clip goes. Let that fall in there. Plug in your clip. Then put your T20s back in. Again, these go 1 at each corner. All right, then you can grab the grate. Looks just like this. The little ramp up side goes towards the door. Put that in place. Okay, at this point in the process, the subwoofer is fully installed. Take your 4 T50s and install those back now. After you've hand tightened them, it's very important to go back and make sure you torque them down to the correct spec. Okay, at this point, once you've reinstalled and torqued down those T50s to the correct spec, your installation is complete and you can enjoy your new Alpha 1 speakers from BimmerTech. If you are looking for that premium sound in your BMW, whether you have the bass system or the Harman, be sure to check out bimmer-tech.net for the all-new Alpha 1 speaker upgrade and the BimmerTech Premium Audio Amp. Again, this is Brian. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.